For centuries, we have imagined Viking villages as bleak, brutal places where survival was a constant, smoke-choked struggle against a frozen wasteland. We picture them shivering in drafty huts, waiting for a spring that felt a lifetime away. But archaeology reveals a quieter, far more impressive reality. The Vikings didn't just endure the winter, they engineered their way into the heart of it. They built homes that functioned not in spite of the cold, but because they understood exactly how heat behaves. It wasn't about burning endless piles of wood. It was about a subtle, cumulative, and systemic mastery of thermodynamics. The Viking Longhouse was not a static building in the modern sense. It was a living organism. Stretching up to 80 meters in length, these structures housed entire communities under a single roof. This wasn't crowding born of desperation. It was deliberate thermal design. Every human body is a continuous heat engine, and by concentrating dozens of people into one enclosed space, the Vikings transformed population density into a renewable heating resource. Warmth was shared and redistributed simply by living together, ensuring no individual had to fight the cold alone. In regions like Iceland and Greenland, where timber was a luxury, the Vikings turned to the earth itself. They cut thick blocks of turf, soil held together by dense living root systems, and stacked them into walls 2 meters thick. The brilliance of these walls lay in physics. Soil contains countless pockets of trapped, motionless air, and still air is one of the most powerful insulators in existence. Over time, the grass on the outside would continue to grow, knitting the structure together and sealing every microscopic crack. The house didn't just sit on the landscape, it became a part of it, using the Earth's own mass to block the wind and hold on to every calorie of warmth. Inside, the Longhouse was a masterpiece of energy management. During the coldest months, livestock were brought indoors. A single cow produces as much heat as several modern space heaters, and a whole herd provided a steady, reliable source of warmth that never needed fuel. These animals were kept in a section slightly lower than the human living quarters, allowing their body heat to naturally rise and flow into the areas where families slept and worked. It was a zero-emission, self-sustaining heating system, guided entirely by architecture. Even the lack of a chimney was a calculated choice. A long, stone-lined hearth ran down the center of the building, but instead of venting the smoke straight out, it was allowed to pool beneath the roof. This created an invisible blanket of warm gas that trapped heat down at the floor level, where it was needed. This smoke also coated the wooden beams in soot, acting as a natural preservative against rot and insects. When the winter storms arrived, the Vikings didn't shovel the snow away, they let it pile up. They knew that snow was mostly trapped air, making it a perfect frozen armor that sealed the house and stabilized the temperature against the howling gales outside. The Viking Longhouse proves that warmth isn't something you have to fight for if you know how to preserve it. Every element, the earth and the walls, the breath of the cattle, the slow curl of smoke, and the heavy weight of the snow worked together in a single unified system. They didn't see nature as an enemy to conquer, but as a set of conditions to manage. Their homes were an extension of the environment, not a barrier against it, and they remained warm and full of life in places where many modern buildings would freeze solid without a constant intake of electricity. It leaves us with a haunting question. In our rush to build faster and higher, what primal engineering wisdom have we left behind in the snow? Would you like me to focus on the specific survival tools or the social structure that existed inside these thermal systems?